Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are St. Louis.
It was just last weekend at Busch Stadium in St. Louis when the LA Dodgers made their way to the Gateway City. The Cardinals would win 2 of 3 behind outstanding starting pitching and timely hitting early on. Tonight, the scene shifts to the West Coast and Dodger Stadium. It's the Cardinals and Dodgers coming up on Fox Sports Midwest. This is St. Louis Cardinals baseball, and tonight it begins a 7-game road trip for the St. Louis Cardinals, a rematch of the playoffs from the last 2 years. It's the Los Angeles Dodgers and the St. Louis Cardinals. And welcome to Cardinals baseball with Tim McCarver. I'm Dan McLaughlin. Delighted to have you with us as we get you set for game 1 of this 4-game series. And you've got 2 young, dynamic leadoff men. Jock Peterson trying to make history tonight concerning home runs. And you have Colton Wong, who's been outstanding in that spot for St. Louis.
Hey, this is Hollywood. Leading men are very important. And Colton Wong and 21-year-old Jock Peterson, who has homered in each of the last 5 games. Should be an exciting game tonight.
Those are the 2 youngsters that we talk about. There's a couple of veterans that have really set the tone this year for both clubs. Matt Holliday, Adrian Gonzalez. Baseball comes your way next. Bud Light Lime, the perfect beer for whatever happens. Save big money at Menards on all your home improvement needs. And visit your local Mid-America Chevy dealers for great prices on our all-new 2015 vehicles today. We're at Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. Third oldest ballpark in Major League Baseball. And along with Tim McCarver, Jim Hayes, I'm Dan McLaughlin. We've got two of the best teams in the National League squaring off tonight. The St. Louis Cardinals lineup for Mike Matheny's club. Colton Wong will lead things off, the second baseman, followed by Matt Carpenter and Matt Holliday. Holliday is 11th in the National League and hitting at .313. Then Johnny Peralta, Mark Reynolds, Jason Hayward with a 6-game hitting streak on the line tonight. Yadier Molina, John Jay, and the pitcher batting ninth, Michael Wacha. Right-hander Carlos Frias makes the start. He is 4-2, and we saw him over the weekend.
Saw him last Saturday pitching for the Dodgers, and I've never liked that term, pitching to contact. The term pitching to weak contact is a little more appropriate, but he's certainly a ground ball pitcher, a guy who's not going to overpower you with strikeouts, but he can overpower you with that sinker that he has. Sinker and a cut fastball with an occasional change to left-handed batters.
A look at Mike Matheny on the other side. Don Mattingly in his 5th year as the Dodgers manager. And Bruce Bochy, the Giants skipper, has selected Mattingly, Brian Price, to serve as coaches for the All-Star game. Ned Yost over in the American League, by the way, has selected A.J. Hinch of the Astros and Lloyd McClendon of Seattle. So here we go, the first of 4 here tonight from Los Angeles. And a strike to Colton Wong.
Look at matchups throughout the Cardinal lineup. Wong should be a tough hitter against Frias because he's a good low ball hitter, and Frias has to be down.
And there it is, a base hit into right center on a pitch that was down.
Yep. Yeah, he's going to be a tough assignment for Frias tonight because he loves the ball down in the strike zone. That ball actually, I think, would have been on the ground had Colton let it go.
Colton Wong now is reached base to start a game in 9 of 17 appearances from that leadoff spot here in the first inning. And a look at the Hyundai pitch arsenal for Carlos Frias. Fastball, cutter, changeup, and curve. He's a 25-year-old from the Dominican, a tall right-hander, 6'4", 200-pounder. And here is Matt Carpenter, who's batting .314 this year.
It's one thing you do as a catcher. You look at the lineup of the opposition, and you star in your mind who the guys are that are going to give you trouble. With the Cardinals, of course, their top two, Wong and Carpenter. Excellent 1-2 punch at the top for the Cardinals.
1 ball and no strikes on Matt Carpenter. And a check on Wong and a quick tag, and they got him. And Mike Matheny may want to take a look at this as Wong is picked off.
I'll tell you, it was a quick move by Frias and a great tag by Adrian Gonzalez. Very quick, and that's a play designed for a left-handed throwing first baseman because the glove's on the right hand. Wong diving to the outside of the bag. Did he get him? Looked out.
Cardinals now have had 3 picked off at first this past week. 1-0 pitch to Carpenter is taken low and away. I'm going to throw another name on your list that could give Frias fits, and that's Matt Holliday. Now, he's not swinging the bat as well as he was, let's say, 10 days ago, but low ball hitter may have success.
Low ball hitter, but a tougher assignment for a right-hander against Frias because the ball just buries in on right-handed batters. Much heavier assignment for a right-handed hitter.
3-0 on Carpenter. And his 23rd multi-hit game yesterday in the win. And it's 3 balls, 1 strike. Last time out, 7 innings, 5 hits, pair of walks. And because of that sinker, he induced 3 double plays. 3-1 pitch. And a walk to Matt Carpenter. A look at the Dodgers defensively. Dobbs Tire and Auto Center's defense. Guerrero in left. Jock Peterson is in center. And Ethier is in right. Turner, Rollins, Hernandez, Gonzalez along the infield. Yasmani Grandal, the former Padre, is behind the plate. So here's Holiday. .313 average. 3 home runs, and he's driven in 24. He is 1 home run shy of 275 for his career.
Inside. It's amazing how many pitchers in the National League start Holiday off inside. They like to get him out inside, and normally if you're going to pitch a guy inside, you don't start him out that way because major league hitters adjust to that pitch. That hole wide open on the right side with Kiki Hernandez playing close to second base, cheating on the double play.
The 1-0 pitch. Hit to the right side. Can they turn to Rollins to first? Oh, what a turn by Jimmy Rollins, the former MVP with the Phillies. Outstanding turn for the Dodgers shortstop. Half inning in the books. No score. In business here in the top of the first, because this play, the potential inning-ending double play, is under review. And I think situations like this is a nightmare for baseball.
It really is. I think in order to prevent things like this, challenges to end an inning should not exist. If it's to end the ball game, I think it would be okay. Safe at first. So now your whole momentum from a crowd standpoint, from a player standpoint, Cardinals got the call, but in our view, it's just something that's not right as far as the cadence of the game. Was Matt Holliday safe at first base? Say it was close.
Very close. I'm surprised they overturned it.
I am too. I am too.
So that call goes the Cardinals' way. We're still in the top of the first with 2 down, and here's shortstop Johnny Peralta. And Peralta's had quite the start to this season. Among all Major League Baseball shortstops, he's first in hits, home runs, walks, extra base hits, total bases, and game-winning RBIs. That's every shortstop in the league.
My gosh.
Plays every day. Not great range, but solid defender. No balls in and 2 strikes.
Cardinals won 2 out of 3 for the Dodgers on Sunday, a game that we did. Cardinals won 3-1, and Johnny Peralta drove in all 3 runs.
You mentioned in that first inning, sometimes you can be a great guess hitter, and he guessed right with that 2-run homer.
Yes, he did.
trying to stay alive with 2 strikes. Hit down the right field line. Ethier is over, and it's a foul ball by maybe a foot, if 2. The Dodgers still hopeful that Yasiel Puig will join them by the end of next week. So Ethier would then shift to left field for Don Mattingly's club. And Puig started a rehab assignment at Class A tonight. He's been out over 5 weeks with a hamstring injury.
And then you'd have to bench Alex Guerrero, who has 10 home runs since April 22nd when he was called up.
No balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, and a runner at first. Peralta to the right side. That's a base hit. And Holiday stops at second.
First baseman, number 12, Mark Reynolds.
Johnny going the other way with 2 strikes, protecting the outside part of the plate. I'll tell you, there's not much that Johnny Peralta does as a hitter that you could quibble with. Talk about mechanics all the time. I mean, he's a very, very smart player.
Here's Mark Reynolds, primary first baseman now with Adams done for the year, it looks like. And he's hitting .261, 3 home runs. He's driven at 15. And he hits this down the right field line, and it slices foul and out of play. I think the word you described that you used to describe the stoppage in play, cadence. The cadence of the game broken up, and I agree with that. You're asking your pitcher to amp it up again. He thinks he's out of the inning with a double play.
Most guys are off the field. They're in foul territory. They're kind of dithering around. The crowd, not many know what's going on. Getting kind of used to it, but the cadence certainly messed up.
Missed outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. This has the potential to be a tough road trip for the Cardinals, because after tomorrow you're looking at Kershaw, Greinke, and then 3 games at Colorado. It's never easy to play in Denver.
Dodgers found that out. The Rockies coming back with 3 in the 9th last night to beat the Dodgers 7-6.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Kenley Jansen was not available in the 9th inning last night. That's the closer for the Dodgers. Irregular heartbeat while in Colorado back in 2012. Then he had surgery to start the following season, so they had 4 relievers give up that lead, and it wound up being a 7-6 loss for Los Angeles. We understand that Jansen, though, is healthy and has got the green light to pitch tonight.
I'm surprised there aren't more irregular heartbeats in Denver, since it's a mile.
Yes.
You know, the Mile High City.
Here's a 1-2. And Reynolds strikes out. First strikeout for Frias. Cardinals strand 2. We head to the bottom of the first officially now. Justin Turner will bat cleanup. Andre Ethier, Alex Guerrero, Jimmy Rollins, Kiki Hernandez, and Carlos Frias. What a talent Jock Peterson is, and what a talent this guy is as well. 23-year-old Michael Wacha.
As Vince Scully said here to the Dodger fans, Michael Wacha had a no-hitter almost for 6 innings on Saturday night. It was actually 5 1/3. And then the 3-run home run, the great at bat by Adrian Gonzalez. And then the home run by Yasmani Grandal, a 3-run shot, and that undid Wacha and the Cardinals.
And the first pitch is strike 2, Jock Peterson, who set the rookie record now for the Dodgers through 53 games with 17 home runs.
He has homered in each of the last 5 games. He had a 4-game homer streak earlier in the year.
So, Tim, he's done this twice. 2 4-game streaks. And as you mentioned, this one at 5. The last to do that, Jimmy Hall of the Twins back in 1963.
Gosh, I remember that. Matter of fact, our old buddy Jim Cott was a pitcher on that Twin team. And it's talked about how good a hitter, pull hitter all the way was Jimmy Hall.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's the breaking ball lifted out to right field. Hayward on the move, and he's got it. Up against the wall, Jason Hayward, and there's one away.
Dan, you and I talked about it for about 5 minutes before the game about Wacha and the curveball. It's my opinion that Wacha shows his curveball, and left-handed hitters in particular can get a read on that because it's just slightly higher. The arm angle and the release point slightly higher than the changeup. So left-handers can't read the changeup, but they can the curveball. It's a dangerous pitch for Michael.
Switch hitting Yasmani Grandal. Normally in this spot it's Howie Kendrick, but he's dealing with a sore knee. Did play last night, but he's out of the lineup and is available to pinch hit tonight. And a fastball catches the corner. We also said about Michael Wacha, and talking about him off the air before the game, every time he goes out you think something special may happen.
You really did. There's a different excitement when he starts before the game. I think the Cardinal players feel it. I think the opposition certainly feels it. They know they're going up against a tough assignment tonight.
1-2 pitch, and goodbye. There's the fastball, then a strikeout of Grandal. The Hyundai pitch arsenal for the big righty Michael Wacha. Fastball, cutter, the changeup, and the curve. I talked to Michael about the curveball, and he said, I finally feel comfortable to throw it at any point in the count. And he said that pitch developed as Yadier kept calling it. He said, I wasn't going to shake him off, and Yadier Molina knows that I've got to be able to throw a curveball to be an elite pitcher, along with the changeup and fastball, as Gonzalez is retired. So Peterson flies out to right, strikeout of Grandal, and the ground out by Adrian Gonzalez. Jock Peterson gave it a ride, but it stays in the ballpark, and the Gold Glover puts it away. That's Jason Hayward. We move to the second, and there's no score. Turn to our Toyota keys to the game with Tim McCarver.
A rally around Waka. Good first inning for Michael. Dodger Stadium, a hitter's park. Man, it certainly wasn't throughout the 60s. And then before the 1969 season, I mean, it was really tough to get a ball out of here. But they moved home plate up 10 feet. And since then, I mean, balls have shot out of this ballpark. Dodgers a different hitting team in this park now.
They've also, when you look at the dugouts, added seats getting a little bit closer to the playing field, that surface, so more foul balls as Hayward chops it towards first. And Gonzalez fires a strike to Frias for out number 1.
Catcher number 4, Yadier Molina.
Frias, a 25-year-old from the Dominican, as we mentioned. Dominican Republic, and he saw his first big league action last year. Opponents only hit .204 against him last season. He was on the Dodgers postseason roster but did not pitch against St. Louis.
Getting an opportunity because of the injury to Brandon McCarthy, out for the season. Ryu, their fine left-hander, out for the season. This guy's going to be a good major league pitcher, I think. Nasty stuff.
Strike to Yadier Molina. As a matter of fact, the Dodgers have used 10 different starters this year.
That's the most in the major leagues.
12 different starters all of last season for Los Angeles. Really a veteran staff here for Don Mattingly. Rick Honeycutt pitched with St. Louis. The pitching coach, you have Mark McGuire, former hitting coach and player with the Cardinals as well. Davey Lopes.
Davey Lopes, one of the real shrewd first base coaches in baseball. And the reason for that, he was such a great base runner. Rarely was thrown out. When he was the first base coach for the Phillies, he often told the guys when to run. Now's the time. Now's the time.
Strikeout of Molina, number 2 tonight for Frias.
Talked about Frias and his sinking fastball. This was a cutter up and away to Yachty to get it.
John Jay.
I think what's going to be interesting now for Mike Matheny, and it's always fodder for fans to see the lineup day in and day out, but how do you find playing time for Randal Grichuk? Who sits? It will come at somebody's expense.
Sure.
It won't come from the left fielders playing time. That's Matt Holliday.
No. So center and right, 2 positions that will be in constant flux for the Cardinals.
And a ground ball that's hit to second. Kiki Hernandez in a 1-2-3 inning for Carlos Frias. We move to the bottom of the second. It'll be Turner, Ethier, and Guerrero due up for Los Angeles.
These two teams get together, you have the postseason history, you have a little bad blood between the two teams, and back in St. Louis, the Dodgers had a bit of an umpiring beef. Mike Matheny told me that drama equals excitement, and if the fans get excited, that's good. For his part, he says he's just trying to win games. Don Mattingly agrees, saying the Cardinals are a good team, and that's all he's focused on. He said the other stuff is just part of the public relations battle. He says this series, being right on the heels of the one back in St. Louis, will come down to adjustments. Don Mattingly says the team that makes the adjustments in this series, having just seen the Cardinals and the Cardinals just having seen the Dodgers, will win this series.
Yeah, Jim, and it was interesting because Don Mattingly was ejected from the ball game on Sunday, and then Justin Turner, who's at the plate, saw two fastballs from Trevor Rosenthal that caught the outside corner. Then he was ejected after the game was over. And that's into right field, and it drops in front of Hayward for the first base hit for Los Angeles. And the reason that's done, you say, well, why is a player ejected after the game? There can be fines or suspensions that even happen after the action is through. So it's reported to the league and duly noted.
Yeah, and when a player lingers around home plate and continues the argument as the umpires are trying to get off the field, that's when that usually happens. And I don't know for sure, but I would imagine Justin was fined a meager amount of money, but fined nonetheless.
Here's Andre Ethier, who's hitting .297 with 7 home runs, 22 RBIs. It's a different looking lineup with no Puig, no Crawford, no Kendrick. You throw them in there, there's some veterans and some good players.
I'll tell you, Justin Turner can hit. Talked about it the last game that we saw him. A member of the New York Mets, and the Mets having a tough time scoring runs now with that fine young pitching staff on a 6-man rotation right now are the Mets. But Justin Turner, a good hitter for them, and I am surprised the Mets let him go.
Oh, 0-2 pitch to Ethier. Michael Wacha, one of the top enemies, if you will, the fan base here in Los Angeles, the MVP of the League Championship Series in 2013. Went 13 2/3 scoreless innings and twice beat Clayton Kershaw. The fly ball lifted into left center field. There's Jay. Turner will at least show that he's tagging up, and quickly back in the infield is Jay with the baseball. And there's one away.
Left fielder.
Next time you're looking for great seats, get to StubHub. On StubHub, you can grab Cardinals tickets all season long, even at the last minute, and even if the game is sold out. So get to StubHub today. StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Cardinals. Here's Alex Guerrero, and as Tim mentioned, he has knocked out 10 home runs. He can play second, he can play third, and he can play left or right. The Dodgers lead Major League Baseball along with Houston with 74 home runs. They're tops in the National League and on base percentage at .340. It's been a good club here.
Good club here is right. Dodger Stadium, they're 21-7. Cardinals 22-7 at home. Best record in the major leagues.
And Tim, they started out 15-2 at home. Gosh. I mean, think about that. 15-2 here at Dodger Stadium. There was talk that maybe Joe Madden would wind up here because Friedman, the GM in Tampa Bay, becomes their president of baseball operations here. Uncertainty with Don Mattingly, especially with the previous regime. But here he is.
Two shrewd baseball minds, Andrew Friedman, president of the Dodgers, and Joe Madden, the manager of the Cubs.
It's a good combination, isn't it?
It certainly is.
1-2 pitch. And a strikeout, number 2 tonight for Michael Wacha. Matt Holliday is in left tonight. John Jay in center. Hayward in right. Carpenter, Peralta, Wong, and Reynolds along the infield. Molina behind the plate. Dobbs Tire and Auto Center's defense for St. Louis.
I'll tell you how good Andrew Friedman was as general manager of the Tampa Bay Rays, and Joe Madden the manager. Look what they've left behind. I mean, the Rays this year are a force in the American League East, and nobody, once again, thought they'd do anything.
You know who does not get enough credit in the American League East? Joe Girardi.
Oh, no question.
I mean, the pressure he's under.
Manager of the New York Yankees.
And they lead by a game right now over Tampa Bay. Quick move and Turner back in as Jimmy Rollins is at the plate. The East is up for grabs. Every team within 5 games in the American League East. Fastball taken low by Rollins. He's back in the state of California. He is from Oakland, California. So many great years with the Phillies.
Jimmy recently bemoaning the fact that the Warriors could be gone after next year, maybe, to San Francisco, the Oakland A's, the Oakland Raiders. And you could see the disappearance over the next decade of 3 major franchises in Oakland.
2-2. Rob Manfred was in St. Louis, as you know, Tim, this past week, and you talk about trying to get the youth involved in the game, and it's about also promoting your stars. And this guy, if you ever have the chance to visit with him, which I know you have, electric personality. A fly ball into left field. There's Holliday, and he makes the catch. The Dodgers strand a runner. We head to the 3rd. No score from LA. Search STIHL and taste the new black pepper cheeseburger today only at Jack in the Box. Today, the 51st anniversary of Sandy Koufax's 3rd no-hitter against the Phillies. Hard to believe, but he was done by the age of 30.
And what he did in a very short time.
Amazing. Off the bat of Michael Walker, and the catch made by Jock Peterson. And Tim, he retires after a 27-win season and then elected to the Hall of Fame
Number 16.
at age 36.
Right.
Incredible.
Last day of the season in 1965, the year before, Don Drysdale, the Dodgers had a makeup doubleheader the last day of the season. They needed to win one game. Walter Alston told Sandy Koufax he was scheduled to start in game 2. Drysdale pitched game 1. Sandy told me that in the 7th inning, Walter Alston told him to go down and warm up. He was going to use Koufax in relief of the first game, so Sandy would not have to pitch the second game.
Wow.
But if the Pirates had scored against Sandy Koufax, then he has to start game 2. The great Koufax, that's right.
Amazing. 0-2 on Colton Wong, who singled to right field, then was picked off. That's a nasty pitch right there. And Wong chased it. Strikeout number 3.
That looked like a split fastball down in the dirt.
Join Fox Sports Midwest and the Rams at the annual Coach Fisher and Friends softball game. That'll be Sunday at TR Hughes. If you'd like to purchase tickets, visit stlouisrams.com.
I don't think I told you, I met Jeff Fisher for the first time the other night on Tuesday night.
Impressive guy.
At dinner. He really is an impressive guy.
I said to Jeff as we finished up our visit on the air, I said, I hope we do this again next year. And he said, I hope so too. I'd like to stay in St. Louis. Let's hope that's the case for the Rams and all their fans. 1 ball, 1 strike on Carpenter, who walked first time up. Tim, you had to experience this, but I looked it up. It's arguably the best 1-2 punch ever in baseball. But Koufax and Drysdale over a 5-year period, 209 wins, 53 were shutouts in 5 years combined.
A quarter of the games.
4 Cy Young Awards, 2 World Series titles in those 5 years. Man.
To the point where they held out, for some of you young folks listening in, this was before free agency, about 10 years before that. They both held out together in spring training.
Off the glove of Turner and into shallow left as Carpenter takes the turn around first base.
And eventually signed, Sandy signed for $125,000 and Don Drysdale signed for $110,000. Carpenter hit it hard, little backspin, tough play for Turner. And an error on Justin Turner.
That's his 4th this year. Drysdale joined the Dodgers at age 19 in 1956. Made an appearance in the World Series and the game before, Don Larsen's perfect game. And that's a base hit into center field.
That was a hanger right there. Breaking ball. Matt Holliday, you remember we talked about right after that first pitch, his first time up, that Frias tried to pitch him in on the first pitch. Well, Matt got a hanger right out over the plate. Little spinner. And a real mistake by Frias.
Guys at this level, they just don't miss mistakes.
No, not many. No, not guys like Holliday.
No, sir. Here's Peralta, who singled to right. And looks at a fastball that catches the corner. Johnny is tied with Matt Carpenter for the team lead in home runs with 8. And he now has the team lead in RBIs with 31. Yasmani Grandal, it'll be interesting to see if they change their approach here second time through the lineup. But he said after the game over the weekend when Frias started, He said, I wouldn't let him throw off-speed pitches in the first few innings. We went with 2 pitches, and then we adjusted around the 4th and the 5th.
A.J. Ellis confirming that, by the way, before the game.
0-1 pitch.
As a matter of fact, I think that's the first breaking ball that Frias has thrown to a right-handed batter tonight.
I thought it was interesting, too. Grandal said when he was with San Diego, he felt that he did not encourage or try to have his pitchers pitch inside against the Cardinals, something that he wants to do in this series. Wanted to go inside, left it over the middle of the plate. It's a base hit. Carpenter will score. And Johnny Peralta drives in his 32nd this year, and it's 1-0 St. Louis.
That's a great point, Dan. And, you know, everybody's under the impression that pitchers throw the ball exactly where they want it all the time. That's not true. I mean, more often than not, the difference between major league pitchers and minor league pitchers is, but you could see Grandal setting up inside, and he had to go across the plate for Peralta. So he wanted it inside, didn't get it inside, and after that error, 2 base hits, and the Cardinals are on the board.
So Mark Reynolds will be the hitter. RBI number 32 for Peralta to extend his team lead in that category. Reynolds struck out his first time up. It was an error by Turner, single by Holiday, single by Peralta. 1-0 Cardinals. We actually had rain this morning in the area. Can't believe I'm saying that, but we had rain here in LA.
Never rains in Southern California.
Come on, it's not supposed to do that. It's a beautiful night, though, here in Southern California, and a strike on Reynolds.
I think the Mama and the Papas made that famous, right? It never rains in Southern California. No? Was not the Beach Boys. One of the few songs that they did not make famous. Albert Hammond made that famous. JR from St. Louis. Keeping our numbers tonight. One of the great guys. Family still lives back in St. Louis.
You know, Tim, I took the under on when we'd have to mention his name. I won again. John Reynolds. Famous JR. The 1-2 is lifted in the air to right field. Ethier won't get it. Drops in for a hit. Here comes Holiday. Here comes the throw. And he is safe. 2-0 Cardinals. Mark Reynolds with RBI number 16.
I think the guy who perhaps has adjusted more as a base runner since plays at home plate are iffy now as far as blocking home plate is Matt Holliday. Matt Holliday has the patented slide to the outside, touch home plate with his hand. Watch.
That's the lane that's supposed to be there, too.
Yeah, that's right. How many times have we seen him do that?
A bunch.
A bunch.
Yeah. Peralta goes from first to third with that throw going to the plate. So here's Jason Hayward with runners at the corners and 2 down.
Good base running by Johnny, even though there were 2 outs. He goes to third on the throw home, looking at Ethier, looking. Now he picks up Oquendo and goes to third easily.
Well, 1 pitch. Teams have had a lot of success going up and in with Jason Hayward. But again, if you miss your spot, that's when he's done his damage. Arms extended, drives the ball.
It's that ball down and in that most left-handers handle effectively, and Jason Hayward is similar to most hitters. You get it down and can hammer it. that makes Peralta being on third a little more important is Hayward has gotten a bunch of infield hits this year. With Peralta on at third, he could score on such.
Taps it out in front of the plate. And Rondell makes the play. Cardinals strand 2, but a costly error by Justin Turner, his 4th this year. Then 3 consecutive hits adds up to a 2-run lead. Offensively, those numbers tell you the story, and that's your BJC Healthcare difference maker, the offense of the Dodgers. Kiki Hernandez, Carlos Frias, and Jock Peterson due up for Los Angeles. It was June 18th of last year that Michael Wacha had this stress reaction in his right shoulder. We talked to him about that. He says it's no issue this year. He said the only thing that he has to do is make sure that he stays on himself, not to sidetrack in terms of the exercises, the extra exercises that he has to do for the shoulder. Outside of that, nothing different. Nice pick by Reynolds and a tough play for Molina.
Yachty had to barehand the ball, and Reynolds, who has played a very, very good, reliable first base. He's made many plays on balls in the dirt from infielders and saved a bunch of errors in the process. Plus, he's gotten a lot of big hits.
Tim, that play for a catcher, how tough is it?
Well, you have the base runner. It's do or die. I mean, you have to barehand it. You can't catch it with the mitt. The mitt cannot be involved. And Molina, well, there are very few things he can't do. Off balance, you can understand the low throw, but an in-between hop, that's different from a short hop. It's a lot tougher to handle. Good play on both ends.
0-2 on Frias, who is 1 for 12 to start this year. Third strikeout for Michael Wacha. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD with MLB.TV Premium, #1 live streaming sports service. Real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking widget, and more. Blackout and other restrictions may apply. Just visit MLB.TV. The average distance of the home runs hit by Jock Peterson, 17 of them this year. The average distance, 426 feet.
That's good policy right there. He hits the ball hard in the first inning off a curveball, and you come right back and throw it the first pitch his second time up. Now he won't see another curveball. That's my guess.
That was the changeup there. 1 ball, 1 strike. In the air, deep left, and he has done it again. No, it's off the top of the wall. Peterson winds up with a 2-out double.
Boy, I thought that ball was gone.
Watching Holiday's reaction too, almost as if he gave up on it, but he knew it was going to be off the wall and played the carom.
All outfielders playing Peterson deep. I think it hit the top of the wall, but I'm not sure. The carom was somewhere on the wall. We'll take a look. Yep. Right under the 375 sign. He's an exciting player. 17 home runs on the year.
The strike to Grandal, who struck out first time up. And he's left guessing right now. He saw a little bit of everything in that first at bat. Final pitch was a fastball right down the middle, looking for something else.
The thing about Walker, he changes speeds on his changeup, and he does that with finger pressure. The tighter he holds it, the slower the pitch.
Here's a 1-1. First appearance ever for Michael Walker here at Dodger Stadium. The 2-1 pitch to Yasmani Grandal with a runner at second base and 2 outs. And a fly ball lifted into right center field. John Jay calling for it, and he's got it. Peterson stranded, and we played 3 from Dodger Stadium. Cardinals lead it 2-0. At Phillips 66 with 8 gallons or more now until September 24th. And receive up to 50% off on a pair of tickets to a Cardinals home game. For more information, visit cardinals.com/Phillips66. 7, 8, and 9 for the Cardinals in the lineup as we move to the 4th. Built at a cost of $23 million. It opened up in 1962. third oldest ballpark in the major leagues, Dodger Stadium. Slowly hit to the right side and taken there by Kiki Hernandez for the out, and Molina is 0 for 2.
When the Cardinals first came to this stadium in 1962, nobody knew where anything was. It's their first time here. Carl Sawatsky had come out on the off day the day before, and he led the entire team. They got off the bus, the whole bit. They're walking through. Carl is in Swish was his nickname, and he's in front, leads everybody into the groundskeeper's room, where all the rosin, all the dust and the dirt and the whole bit, and they were going to the clubhouse. Nobody knew, and Carl led them throughout the whole ball club. Johnny Keane was the manager at the time. Howard Pallette, the pitching coach. The whole team. Stan Musial. Everybody followed Carl. They found out after that day. Don't follow Swish. He's not the guy to trust to lead you. Then they had to backtrack and go back to the players' clubhouse. He was a great guy. He was a catcher for the Cardinals in those days. Last year was 1963.
Vince Scully, he's been here forever.
Man.
Red Barber was the sports director. The CBS radio network hired Scully to do a football game in 1949 at Fenway Park.
Get out.
He left his coat, according to Vin, and his gloves at the hotel, expecting to be in an enclosed press box. This is a true story. Well, he obviously didn't have the protection he needed. Coat, gloves. Freezing. You can imagine Boston, Fenway Park, that time of year. And he called Red Barber to apologize. And he said, I was terrible. I'm sorry you gave me such a great opportunity. I'm so sorry. I messed it up for you.
Right out of Fordham University,
exactly
21
right.
years old, right?
And he said, son, you've just been hired. I like what you do. And that's how he got his first break.
Wow. I didn't know that.
It's amazing.
Think about it. Vince Scully has been doing Dodger games since Harry Truman was the president.
Say that again.
Since Harry Truman was the president, Vinny's been doing Dodger games.
That would be 12 administrations, I believe.
Sounds right to me.
Yeah, that is right. I just did it in my head. I was singing the president's song. That's right, 12. Amazing. Turner and Andre Ethier. The T-Mobile Game Changer. Two of the best teams, what they've done at home. Cardinals and the Dodgers. Cardinals the best record, 22-7. And then you've got the Dodgers, the Twins, Mets, and Royals. Minnesota Twins, that has turned out to be a terrific story.
Unbelievable. One of the best stories in the game thus far.
I think they were swept by Detroit to start the year.
0-3, right.
And you're starting to say, well,
same old
Twins.
Again.
Yeah. Exactly.
Not so with Paul Molitor. We talked about Neil Allen the other night.
Yeah.
He's the pitching coach there.
Detroit, by the way, swept at home in 4 today. Here's Adrian Gonzalez. And a fastball and a strike, and we're underway here in the bottom of 4. Adrian bounced to third his first time up. Holiday near the stands and out of room.
You know, the one thing that Adrian Gonzalez does that's unusual, he holds his bat flat. And most of the time, guys who have flat bats don't have the power of guys who hold the bat perpendicular, like Stan Musial. Henry Aaron, perpendicular. Frank Robinson, perpendicular. Ted Williams, perpendicular. Gonzalez almost lays it on his shoulder.
He's now 33. Former #1 overall pick by Miami, the Marlins in 2000. And late with that swing, a strikeout for Michael Wacha, and that's number 4 tonight. A look at the Chevy Fox tracks.
Number 10, Justin Turner.
Good curveball from Wacha. Tightly wrapped. I say curveball, that might have been a cutter. I'm not sure.
Justin Turner, single to right, first time up. A lot of teams could have had Justin Turner. Drafted originally by Cincinnati, was traded to Baltimore. The Mets claimed him off of waivers, then said goodbye. The Dodgers signed him prior to last season, and he goes out and hits .340 last year.
That's all.
Did that in 109 games. If Wacha is missing, it's not by much. Home plate umpire is Dale Scott. He's also the crew chief. There's a good fastball at 96. I don't hear Tim McCarver rave about many. You rave about this guy, Michael Wacha.
Yes, I do. He's easy to rave about.
I agree. 2-2 lifted into center, and there's John Jay. Reminder, we have the Purina Pet Leash coming up. That's June 13th. Compliments of Nestle Purina. Available to 25,000 pet lovers ages 16 and older. Get your tickets at cardinals.com/promotions.
To say to embellish what we said earlier, there's an excitement about Michael Wacha that few pitchers in the game today have. Clayton Kershaw is certainly one of those guys. Zach Greinke is another one, but less so. Even though his stuff is as good as Wacha's, you don't get the same flow. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Tom Seaver was like that. Jim Palmer, Nolan Ryan, Gibson, Koufax, of course.
I think the Mets feel that way with Matt Harvey.
Oh, no question. And Jacob deGrom is becoming that type of guy.
That ball lifted into left center field. John Jay is there. Walker has set down 4 straight. 1, 2, 3. Bottom of the 4th as we head to inning number 5. All right, guys, thanks. Tell you what, that Rick Horton, he's going to be tired tonight. He's running the fantasy camp and then coming to do the postgame show.
Oh, boy.
And he'll be back at it tomorrow at about 6 a.m. at the ballpark over at Busch Stadium.
Might as well just bed down there.
I think that is what he's going to do.
Why not?
I bet they're having some fun with the fantasy camp. You were there last year down in Florida. Great experience. You and Bob Gibson.
Yeah, I didn't have to tell Bob Gibson stories. He told them that night.
So much fun to be around Bob.
It certainly is.
The 2-1 pitch to Colton Wong. Nearly hit him. Wong, a single to right, then was picked off and struck out swinging in the 3rd.
He'll get a pitch to hit right here.
And he hammers it foul. Wong has really asserted himself in this leadoff spot as that's tapped foul. 3-2 the count.
Yeah, that's his spot right now. It's his to lose, and I don't think he's going to lose it. Not the way he's been playing.
And now time called. Here's a 3-2. From the leadoff spot, Colton Wong has scored 11 runs. It's been about a month or so in and out of the leadoff spot, but he has produced, especially early in games. When you think about trying just to set the tone of a ball game, been very good at that. And now he draws a walk, so on base for the 2nd time tonight. AT&T U-verse rewind as the Cardinals have 1-2 pitch, 2-run lead, and Michael Walker has struck out 4 so far. and allowed just 2 base hits. AT&T U-verse rewind. Second walk issued by Frias, and it brings in Matt Carpenter. Made his debut 4 years ago today against the Chicago Cubs, and has not looked back. What a player he has turned out to be.
As much as anybody in baseball, he is a hitting machine.
Tim, I asked him about the power. He's got 8 home runs. He had a total of 8 last year, and he said it began with postseason play with his swing. And he used the term new swing. And I said, well, hold on.
Last postseason?
Yes. I said, new swing. I said, you don't need a new swing. He said, well, I said, I'm not sure that's the right way to put it, but I'll say this. I'm trying to get more lift on the ball. He said, I'm 6'3". I should be driving the ball more. I'm trying to get the ball in the air a little bit more, and in doing so, some of these now have turned into home runs. And obviously, he's got a lot of extra base hits. That's in the gap in right center field. Colton Wong to second. And on his way to third, Carpenter to second, diving in head first, and he is safe for the double.
That's something that would never have happened last year. And in spring training this year, Mike Matheny said, we're going to take the extra base. Run through the bag, not to the bag. And that's what Carpenter did. That gave him a chance to get to second, and he made it rather easily. Right on the button again. Another double. Double number 18 on the year. 2 behind Adrian Gonzalez for the league lead. Doubles and triples start in the batter's box, not at first.
You're talking about the jump out of the box.
Right,
too.
Right. Run hard out of the box. That's how you get the extra base.
And here is Holiday.
That's why there have been a decline in triples in baseball over the last 5 decades. Triples have gone down dramatically. Guys don't run hard out of the box for whatever reason. They concede doubles. They preen on home runs, and then the ball hits the top of the wall and they have a double. And preen is the right word since we're in Hollywood. I mean, come on.
It fits.
It fits. It's not right, but it fits.
A 1 pitch to Holiday. Fastball taken up and in at 95.
You think about it, a triple is one of the most exciting things that can happen in a game.
Yes.
It's always exciting, but it's declining.
It's speed. A lot of times it's the bang bang play at third as well that fans
Very
want to
few
see.
stand-up triples.
Yes. If that happens, usually it's a ball that gets away and it's dropped or misplayed off the wall.
Right.
So Carpenter is at second base. Colton Wong is at third. A walk and a double to start this inning. 1-1 pitch to Holiday. Lined into right field. Catch made by Ethier. Wong will tag up. Carpenter on his way to third, and he's in there safely. 3-0 St. Louis. Both runners tag up.
The way I see it, Matt Carpenter would be on first base last year. But because he ran hard, he's on at second. He tagged up at second base. It's easy for Wong. He's a much faster runner. He tags up immediately. But it's a tougher play for Matt Carpenter. That ball wasn't exceptionally deep in right field. Now they're going to walk Peralta and have the infield in double play depth. But that was a good play by Matt.
Justin Turner, the third baseman, tried to deke Matt Carpenter, and Jose Oquendo obviously seeing the play coming right at him, telling Carpenter to get down on the slide.
Yeah, what that deke does is the third baseman will stand there as though he's standing near a lamppost, and there's going to be no play whatsoever on the runner. Can't trust those infielders.
Can you trust the catchers?
No.
At least you admit it.
Especially not after their careers are over.
So Reynolds will come to the plate, and here's that look at Matt Carpenter tagging up.
Here's what Dan was talking about with Justin Turner just standing there, ho-hum, boom.
Rick Honeycutt out to visit. Mark Reynolds, by the way, if you're wondering, is grounded into 3 double plays this year. And since we're in Los Angeles, Tim, on a serious note, one of the top comedians from St. Louis is always out here. His name is Greg Warren. And his mother is not feeling too well. Want to make sure that we pass along well wishes to Colleen Warren. And Matt, Devin, and Greg, we're thinking about her and want to see her at the ballpark very soon. But Greg is outstanding comedian from St. Louis, and we hope to catch up with him out here in LA, and we hope Mom is going to be all right.
That's great.
So the intentional walk to Peralta, runners at first and third. Reynolds has struck out and picked up a 2-out RBI base hit to right in the third. When you talk to the Cardinals, they wanted more production off the bench. Reynolds has given them the threat of power, but they also looked at Mark as being more than just a bat off the bench. They felt he could spot Carpenter, spot Holiday, spot Hayward, spot Adams. So he's getting plenty of playing time now. 0-2. He is fit in with the club.
He's an easy fit, terrific guy in the clubhouse. You hear that term a lot, and that means a guy's congenial when it's time to be congenial. Pat's guys on the rear end when it's time to kick him a little bit. And very respected guy in the clubhouse.
Here's the 0-2. Puts it in play, slowly hit, and Carpenter stays put at third, and Reynolds is out. Runner advances to second, so second and third.
Well, there's nothing Matt Carpenter can do in that situation. He's going to be dead at home. So he did the right thing.
Saturday, our coverage of the FIFA Women's World Cup begins. China takes on host country Canada. Monday, don't miss Team USA's first game. They'll battle Australia on Fox Sports 1. So here's Jason Hayward, runners at second and third, and 2 down. Hayward 0 for 2. Pitch number 80 from the right-hander.
2 inside cutters missed to Hayward.
A lot of visits with Frias tonight. That's the 3rd or 4th time we've seen Grandal come out, or Rick Honeycutt, the middle infielders.
There should be a rule that middle infielders are not allowed on the mound. Stay behind the mound. If you want to know we're changing things, we'll let you know.
Inside on Hayward.
Yeah, and that's a pitch that's not in the strike zone. A hitter's hit out of an imaginary box, and the deeper you get in the count, 1-0, 2-0, 3-1, the smaller that box becomes. And that's what that term, make the pitcher come to you. That's what that means.
The 2-1 pitch.
Inside again. So Jason has seen 4 pitches. All have been balls, and the count's 2-2. See how far this pitch is inside. In on the hands. You can understand that if that was a swing with 2 strikes. But with the count 2-1, you don't understand it because you want to get a good pitch to hit.
Runners at second and third, 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs as we play here in the top of the 5th. Cardinals lead 3-0.
That's 5 inside pitches from Frias to Hayward. I mean, one would think he'd come back in there.
Molina on deck and a 3-2 pitch upcoming to Hayward. Hayward pulls it foul.
There's a play on Broadway with Cheetah Rivera called The Visit. Maybe it was designed after tonight's game.
Man.
Grandel out visiting with Frias again.
3-2. Hayward base hit into right. Carpenter will score. Here comes Peralta. Throw to the plate is cut off. And now Hayward in a rundown, but this is a 5-run lead for St. Louis, and they just get Hayward at the bag at first.
And finally, Jason Hayward got a strike to hit and hammered it to right field.
It's now a 7-game hitting streak for Jason Hayward. RBI 16 and 17, and hammer it he did. That swing brings in 2, 5-0 midway through 5. Four of the 5 runs scored by the Cardinals tonight coming with 2 outs to add the frustration for Don Mattingly as we get a look at the matchup for Game 2 of the series. Carlos Martinez and Brett Anderson, and our Budweiser call to the pen. That'll come your way at 8:30 tomorrow right here on Fox Sports Midwest.
That's an interesting point, Dan, because the Cardinals batting right around 200 with runners in scoring position and 2 outs. And 4 of those 5 runs tonight. That's encouraging.
$14 of 15 first pitch strikes from Michael Wacha. So important.
Vital to be a winner.
Off speed pitch taken just a bit low. Alex Guerrero struck out swinging back in the 2nd inning. Wacha has struck out 4 and allowed just 2 hits You know, the other thing too about Walker, Tim, the pace at which he pitches. I mean, he gets it, and there's confidence and conviction with the pitch.
Because he works fast.
Yes.
When pitchers work fast, they're confident. When pitchers work slowly, generally speaking, it exudes non-confidence. Not always lack of confidence, but you just think about it from a psychological standpoint.
2-2. Carpenter to his left, and the pick again by Reynolds, his second tonight down at first.
Number 11, Jimmy Rollins.
I had a coach of the Brewers tell me when we saw them this past week, and he was serious. He said that Mike Reynolds played Gold Glove defense at first base for them a year ago.
I remember you talking about that on the telecast the other night, on Monday or Tuesday night.
He's had a couple of nice picks tonight.
Yes, he has.
Here's Jimmy Rollins, who flied to left his first time up.
Oh boy. Tell you what that did, that bent the thumb back of Yadi Molina. That's what foul tips will do. You're going to catch it cleanly, and then the foul tip varies the pitch just enough. It was a foul ball. That's what Yadi said, and home plate umpire Dale Scott, who's called a good game thus far, says no, it wasn't. Oh, it was a foul ball.
Well, Mike Matheny can go out and say, look, Dale, will you please ask for help in this situation? Maybe another umpire saw it.
Otherwise, Molina, now think about it from a common sense standpoint.
Exactly.
Molina's not going to turn around and make a deal out of this unless the ball hit the bat. And nor is he going to grimace with pain unless the ball hit the bat. He'll catch the ball cleanly. Well, they get most of them right. They didn't get that one right.
Nope.
Check swing. Oh, that wasn't even close. I said it hit the thumb. Maybe it hit the heel of Yadi. But, I mean, normally he catches that cleanly. That was clearly a foul ball.
The 2-0 is a base hit into center field. Jimmy Rollins, the first hit since Jock Peterson's double off the wall back in the third.
Kike Hernandez.
Only 3 base runners for the Dodgers all night. Of course, Waka's not going to walk many.
And the batter is Kike Hernandez, 23-year-old from Puerto Rico, acquired from Miami. He was part of the D. Gordon deal. It's a 7-player deal. First action in the big leagues was last year with Houston, finished up with Miami, and he could play all around the diamond, second, third, short, all 3 outfield positions.
He started 6 positions this year.
0-1 pitch. Don Mattingly actually said, Tim, this past week when they were in Denver, he started in left field, and he said he arguably is our best defensive left fielder we have.
Wow. That's unusual for a guy who normally plays 3 infield positions.
Right. The Dodgers also have Hector Olivera, 30-year-old infielder. They signed him for $62.5 million. That was last month. He'll make his pro debut this weekend at Double-A Tulsa. And a base hit into left. Rollins from first to third on a base hit to left. So runners at the corners are DraftKings players to watch. Average distance of home runs in Major League Baseball. Jock Peterson at 426 due to stand-in fielder.
I'm shocked Frias is hitting. First and third, 1 out. You're trailing by 5 runs in the 5th inning.
You will not get many shots at Michael Walker either.
No. Frias has 1 major league base hit. That was a bunt his last time up on Saturday night.
He bunts here. Walker looking back the runner. That's Rollins at third. And advancing on the play, Kiki Hernandez to second. So runners at second and third. And 2 down.
Talking about Hector Oliveira, I talked with Jose Vizcaíno, who is a traveling instructor for the Dodgers, and he raved about Oliveira, but he really raved about Corey Seager, who is tearing it up in AAA Albuquerque. Shortstop. His brother plays for Seattle.
Just a matter of time.
Yeah, right.
Before he's up here.
Yep.
Peterson sends that out of play. I mean, everything he hits it high and far. And you look at him, he's not a big guy.
Leverage.
Yes. And they also talk about bat speed with him. Incredible.
Right.
He has doubled tonight and also fly to right, deep right field.
Well, you think about it, the quicker the bat, the longer you wait. The longer you wait, the better hitter you are. That's what getting the ball deep and seeing the ball deep in the batter's box means.
This is 2 23-year-olds squaring off right here. Jock Peterson and Michael Wacha. Wacha turns 24 on July 1st. And the 1-1. You wonder who might be the rookie of the year so far. Chris Bryant has gotten so much of the attention, but how do you overlook what Jock Peterson has done?
I think it's Peterson thus far.
The 2-1 pitch. Take a look at the two, Jock Peterson and Chris Bryant. How they compare. Big difference in home runs. Peterson is only 2 back of Bryce Harper for the league lead. The 2-2. And it's a strikeout of Peterson. Number 5 tonight. And none bigger than that one for Michael Wacha. The Dodgers will strand 2. They've stranded 4 tonight. That call goes Wacha's way. 5-0 after 5. Into play tonight, a .327 hitter here at Dodger Stadium. He's over 2 tonight, but here's it with a minimum 100 at bats at Dodger Stadium. Manny Sanguillen, Mike Lieberthal, Molina, Piazza, all there in the top 5. Some pretty big names in baseball history, catchers all time, and how they've fared here at Dodger Stadium.
You know why Yachty does so well here, in my view? It's refreshing to play here. The air,
sure.
The cool air, night, nothing repressive about the heat. It's really a good road trip for a guy who, for the most part, has played in hot weather and warm weather all year, for the most part. Now you go to Los Angeles, Colorado's going to be pleasant, one assumes. If it's hot, it's dry heat.
Here's the 0-2. And a ground ball that's hit towards second, taken there by Hernandez. How about for you? Do you enjoy it out here?
I loved it. Yeah.
Except when Koufax and Drysdale and Marichal.
That makes things a little hotter.
Right.
In beautiful Dodger Stadium.
But in general, you liked it.
Yeah, in general, you do. You feel a gathering of strength that you wouldn't have normally playing in hot weather.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, you're sitting there in the 100-degree temperatures of St. Louis.
And the East.
Yeah.
When it gets hot. Or the river towns in Cincinnati, Atlanta, Chicago, when it really heats up in Chicago.
John Jay hits it out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike. He's over 2 tonight. A pair of ground outs.
Taking the team charter last night and seeing Yachty on the elevator last night, Dan, I had flashbacks of exhaustion. I really did. He was absolutely exhausted after that flight. Revving it up on a day-to-day basis. You really have to hand it to him.
The physical toll, but the mental toll especially.
The mental part of it, sure.
There's a base hit for John Jay into right.
Being as conscientious as Molina is, and he shows that on a day-to-day basis. Pitcher has a bad night, you take some of that home with you, not all of it. You know, not to the point where you're obsessed, right? Or obsessive.
But I would think, though, you go back and you play the game in your mind about individual at-bats and what you put down and call.
Particularly tight games. Blowouts don't bother you. And these things happen occasionally. But the Cardinals play so many tight games.
Beautiful bunt here by Michael Wacha.
And you can imagine, you know, the mental toil that Molina goes through because of all the tight games, winning and losing, that the Cardinals had. 2-1, 3-2. Could I have done something differently there?
Number 16.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Part of your job, I understand all that. Not making martyrs out of these guys, but it's a tough racket.
Runner at second, John Jay. 2 outs here in the top of the 6th. Colton Wong has been on base twice. A single to right back in the 1st. He was picked off. He struck out in the 3rd. And walked and scored in inning number 5. Go back to the point that you made, which was back-to-back hits. Rollins, Hernandez, the pitcher up freest for the Dodgers, down by 5. Only 1 out, and Don Mattingly not going to his bench.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I mean, you talk about bullpens being tired.
Fairly early in the season.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're 8 weeks into the season.
We're midway through 6 tonight. 5-0 Cardinals. By Academy Sports and Outdoors, it's coming to a ball field near you. And these one-day clinics teach boys and girls ages 7 to 13 baseball fundamentals from former Cardinal greats. Register your child now at cardinals.com/clinics. Yasmani Grandal, Adrian Gonzalez, and Justin Turner against Michael Wacha, who's allowed just 4 hits. He has struck out 5 and no runs. No walks tonight. Good tight breaking ball from Wacha. Tim, looking at the numbers this year for Wacha, opponents hitting 158 against his breaking ball, 196 against the changeup. So both under 200. Just to give me an idea of how tough this guy can be on multiple pitches. And oh, by the way, he's hit 96 on the gun tonight.
Number 23.
Well, you know what he does. He's not a ground ball pitcher. He gets a lot of fly balls the other way. And when you can disarm, I'm not saying that because Grandal just hit a ball to left field, but when you can do that out of a big Koufax had, and I'm not comparing Wacha with Koufax, the great Koufax, no. But Koufax used to get a lot of lazy fly balls the other way on high fastballs. He threw a high fastball and one of the great curveballs ever, but really 2 pitches for the most part.
Why is that on those pitches that are up? Why get those lazy flies?
You just can't get on top of them. Lazy flies the other way, the perennial nemesis. We used to kid about it all the time, saying that stroke right there has cost me thousands of dollars throughout my career, and it did.
1 ball, 2 strikes on Adrian Gonzalez. Hits it the other way. Late break by Holiday, and it drops in for a hit.
See, that's the type of ball I'm talking about. You know, that is a pitch. That ball up and away to a left-hander. I think that high strike to a left-hander is one of the toughest pitches for either right-handers or left-handers. Right-handers, for whatever reason, hit the up and away fastball a lot better than left-handers do. And Michael gets a lot of lazy fly balls the other way with not a lot of carry. One of the big reasons for his success.
You look at the ERAs this year, bottom portion of the graphic, Cardinals best in baseball, 2.91. And the Dodgers 5th, despite Ryu out and Brandon McCarthy done for the year. The Cardinals missing Adam Wainwright. The Cardinals, since Wainwright has left, they are 9 games above 500.
Talk about answering the call.
You bet. And a base hit into right field. So back-to-back hits. Turner has 2 of the 6 hits tonight for the Dodgers.
Right fielder, Andre Ethier.
Little inside-out stroke by Turner. That's frustrating from a catcher standpoint. We're talking about Molina in the middle part of the game. You make a pitch that you call for. It's in the right spot, and yet a big league hitter just fought it off the other way.
So 2 on, 1 out for Andre Ethier. 0 for 2 tonight with a pair of flyouts to John Jay in center. Mentioned the injury to Puig. Carl Crawford sidelined 4 more weeks with a torn muscle in his side. Scott Van Slyke is also out, who's been one of their top performers off the bench for Don Mattingly. He's dealing with back discomfort. He's on the DL. Walker going right at Ethier. No balls, 2 strikes. See guys in both bullpens starting to stretch, get loose. It's about that time here in the 6th inning. It's Rosenthal. 1-2 the count. Ground ball left side and off the glove of Peralta, and a run will score. No! Oh my goodness, Gonzalez stopped at third. He would have scored easily on that play.
Well, he was stopped. Third base coach Lorenzo Bundy stopped him. Adrian is not a fast runner, but he does score on that ball easily. I think the Cardinals were conceding that run. Peralta looking back. I see the whole game changes when you're 5 runs down, Dan. Sometimes it's a mistake. Gonzalez not a fast runner, and you're just extra cautious. But he would have scored, I think.
And now Alex Guerrero,
who had a grand slam home run on Tuesday night. Second game of the doubleheader in the 9th inning with the Dodgers 3 runs down. That put them ahead, and they won that game.
and the 1-1. 1 ball, 2 strikes. You look at the hits in this inning too for Walker, Gonzalez. The lazy line drive, if you will, to left. Same thing to right for Turner with 2 strikes. Ethier off the glove of Peralta. The 1-2. 2-2. That'll find the seats out of play. Three and 2. Remember, it was the 6th inning that the Dodgers got to walk over the weekend. In the air. Right center. Jay with room. Makes the catch. 2 runners tag up. A runner will score. And the Dodgers get on the board to make it 5-1.
Here's one of those situations where the defense and Michael Wacha got exactly what they wanted, an out. And Gonzalez, actually Guerrero, will go back in the dugout and guys will shake his hand. Saying nice job. And the Cardinals love that. They'll take a sacrifice fly in that situation with a 5-run lead.
Trade any day.
Any day of the week. And Guerrero will get high fives. And actually think he did well.
Picked up his 26 ribby.
That was a great shot because everybody's congratulating him. He's congratulating. Then he threw his helmet.
Yeah. Thanks
what
a lot.
Shot. That was great.
Jimmy Rollins is 1 for 2 with a single to center field, also flied out to left. And looks at a fastball for a strike. Runners at first and third in an 0-1 pitch. Ground ball. Colton Wong to his left. The Dodgers pick up a run.
Only one. The Guerrero handshake, handshake, handshake.
Player hits a home run, the Gateway Honda dealers will donate $1,000 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. Along with Tim McCarver, Jim Hayes, I'm Dan McLaughlin on Fox Sports Midwest. Matt Carpenter, Matt Holliday, Johnny Peralta. As Frias is pitching into the 7th. He went 7 innings his last time out against the Cardinals. In that game, he gave up 5 hits. Tonight, he's given up 8. And the key tonight has been 2-out RBI hits for St. Louis. 4 of the 5 for the Cardinals have scored with 2 outs. What has turned out to be a big play was Matt Carpenter reaching on an error back in the 3rd. I was talking with Matt the other day about his 2-strike approach. He said, the reason I have success, I'm not afraid to hit with 2 strikes. Well, a lot of guys may be. I invite it. And Tim, he has the most 2-out hits in all of baseball. He's hitting almost 300. He's at 294 with 2 strikes. The league average is about 170.
Well, we talk about Matt Carpenter, but it's Matt Holliday who is a better 2-strike hitter. And Matt Carpenter, I don't know how you can be any better than he is with 2 strikes.
It's been amazing. So here's Holliday, who singled and scored after the error by Turner in the 3rd. Was driven in by Mark Reynolds. Base hit into right. And a 2-hit night for Holliday. He's 2 for 4 with an RBI.
Number 27, Johnny Peralta.
Pitch was away, and Holliday hit it away.
Another solid night for Peralta. Couple of hits, RBI. Intentionally walked back in the 5th and scored on a base hit by Jason Hayward. Holiday is running, and the hit and run done to perfection by Peralta. Holiday didn't know whether or not it was caught or a foul ball, and he's standing at second base.
Well, he went for the decoy. The wrong guy. You don't watch the middle infielders. On a hit and run play, you see where the ball is. When the ball was hit behind him, if that's a line drive to the right fielder, you're going to be doubled off at first anyway. So just keep going. Watch the second baseman. Number one, Matt doesn't look, so he goes for the decoy at second base. Second baseman Kiki Hernandez, we said it was his 6th start at a new position this year. But Matt Carpenter was looking at the wrong guy. He should have been looking at Peralta, and he looked at the second baseman Hernandez.
So runners at first and second, and it brings in Reynolds. 2-out RBI base hit back in the 3rd.
It's the thing about the hit and run. You have to look at the hitter and see where the ball is. And if the ball is a line drive behind you and you're too far toward second base, and if he catches the ball, you're going to be doubled up anyway, so keep going.
0-1 pitch to Reynolds. Fouled back. A couple of big cuts.
Excuse me, Dan. The greatest decoy, in my view, that I've ever seen, and the most costly, was Game 7 of the 1991 World Series with Lonnie Smith, the ex-Cardinal, playing for the Braves and running on a 3-2 pitch, a double into left center, and at the Metrodome in, that was close. At the Metrodome in Minneapolis, he couldn't see the ball because it was a white background, and runners on at second and third, nobody out. Otherwise, Lonnie Smith scores easily. That was close to Reynolds. Jack Morris, the greatest game, one of the great Game 7s in the history of the game, when he beat Atlanta 1-0 in 10 innings.
John Smoltz.
Yep, started.
On a hop, Rollins knocks it down. They'll get the lead man at second base. And advancing Holiday to third. So runners at the corners for Jason Hayward.
Hitting that slider low and away. The shortstop, you can see Frias. That is an odd way of delivering the ball, looking down toward first base, and that pitch up and in on Mark Reynolds.
And it looks like we may have a double switch here for Don Mattingly. That'll be it for Frias. Daniel Colomb and our Chevy call to the pen. We'll tell you about the double switch when we come back, and another opportunity for Hayward coming up. You've got J.P. Howell, Adam Libator, and now Daniel Colomb, who takes over for Frias.
Number 14, Kike Hernandez moves over to shortstop.
Alberto Callaspo is into the ball game. Friday, June 12th. Budweiser is providing 25,000 fans, ages 21 and older. The 5th Stein in the championship series, which highlights the 30th anniversary of the Cardinals' '85 National League Championship team. Tickets are available at cardinals.com/promotions. Swung on and missed by Jason Hayward. From St. Louis, Missouri, Daniel Colomb, a 25-year-old. The 20th round selection back in 2012. That pitch taken just outside. Played collegiately at Texas Tech. He grew up in Phoenix, Arizona, but born in St. Louis. Fouled back, 1-2 on Hayward. Justin Turner, by the way, has moved from third to second base, so he stays in the game. Hernandez is out. No, Hernandez is still in. Rollins is out. So Kike Hernandez goes to shortstop. Of course, the wonderful John Reynolds is all over it, helping us out up here.
All over.
In the dirt, a check swing, and advancing on the play, Reynolds from first to second.
Boy, he came close to swinging at that. I think Jason Hayward got a break. It was that little flick of the wrist, but immediately third base umpire Lance Barrett said no swing.
Two balls, two strikes. Oh, up and into Hayward.
The reason Jason Hayward, and I think most Cardinal fans know that, the reason Jason Hayward is wearing that guard was because he was hit by a left-hander last year. The Mets' John Neese hit him in the right cheek.
3-2 pitch. Runners at second and third. And a strikeout of Hayward. So the Cardinals strand two. And it's time to stretch from Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. Still in the game, pitching here in the bottom of the 7th. And Peralta's 3 for 3 with an RBI, a run scored. Also has walked. Frias 6 2/3, and Peterson is 1 for 3 with a double. Kiki Hernandez, and the first pitch fouled away. Hernandez has singled to left, and he's 1 for 2 tonight. Michael Wacha trying to go to 6-0 to start this year to match what Matt Morris did in 2005. Chris Carpenter started out 12-0 on the road in 2005. Choate is getting loose. Segrist as well. That's into right, and Hayward is there. The 2005 season for Chris Carpenter was a Cy Young season for the former right-handed pitcher of St. Louis.
Even though a right-handed hitter hit it, that gives you an idea of the closing speed of Jason Hayward. Right-hander, that ball's going to tail back to him. That's an easy play for Jason.
Alberto Callaspo, he's a switch hitter. Took over at third base. This will be the final inning of work for Michael Wacha. He is due up third for the Cardinals and approaching 100 pitches. And the 1-2 pitch to Callaspo. Think about this rotation, Tim. I mean, Adam Wainwright is out, one of the best pitchers in the game today. Now Wacha has asserted himself as a potential leader of the staff. We've got Lance Lynn. John Lackey was terrific yesterday. Coming into his own, young Carlos Martinez.
I can't think of a start that was better than his last one.
Agreed. And the fly ball is lifted into center field. It's exactly what you've been talking about. Those lazy fly balls.
Lazy fly ball the other way, particularly from left-handed batters. You look at the scorecard tonight. Grandal has flied out once to left center, once to left. Justin Turner, of course, a right-handed batter, but Ethier has flied out to left center twice. Jimmy Rollins to left field once. Kind of, you get the drift. Against Michael Wacha, they just cannot use that top hand. Everything is lazy fly the other way. Not everything. Jock Peterson, of course, got into one to left center. But Peterson this year is proving that he can hit that ball up and away.
He's hitting everything right now.
Yeah, he is.
Only 17 have homered in 6 straight in baseball history. Peterson trying to add his name to the list. And it's no balls and 2 strikes. He was fooled badly on that pitch.
The old equalizer, that changeup, actually a curveball.
And the 0-2 pitch. Peterson was 0 for 3 against Wacha in Michael's previous start against the Dodgers last weekend, and tonight 1 for 3 with a strikeout, a double, and a fly out to deep right field. Here's a 1-2. Ground ball. Second base handled by Colton Wong. Michael Wacha, 7 strong innings here tonight. We head to the 8th. St. Louis on top in game 1. It's 5-1. let's go to our studio. Pat Paris standing by with a Bomberito Sports Update. All right, so if the Cardinals would hold on tonight, they'd still be 6 in front of Pittsburgh, 7 in front of Chicago. Saw Jason Hayward with the first catch and out in the 7th. Thank you very much. That of Kiki Hernandez. Hayward's had a nice day. Couple of RBIs, 2 very good plays in right field. Here's Yadier Molina, who is 0 for 3. You'd have to assume that Michael Wacha is through. Cardinals, I know, Tim, you're not a big fan of the pitch count, but the Cardinals do take a hard look at that,
sure.
Especially with Wacha.
Yeah, but you can't be unreasonable about it when a guy's coming back from a shoulder injury like Michael is.
Cardinals had 7 runs yesterday. It was most in a game since May 20th against the Mets, and tonight they have put up 5. Wacha was at 106 pitches tonight. 1 ball, 1 strike on Yadier Molina.
When the Cardinals score 4 or more runs, they're 21-5 on the year. You know, Lance Lynn would have the same record as Michael Wacha if the Cardinals scored runs for him.
He had great run support a couple of years ago. Some of the best in baseball. And Lynn's numbers on the mound basically identical to what he did a year ago, but he had more run support.
It's something over which a pitcher has no control.
Lynn will go Sunday night against Zach Greinke.
Great pitching matchup there, huh?
Garcia and Kershaw on Saturday. Here's a 2-2. I've always felt that a fan base gets behind a team, Tim, when you see them score a ton of runs. You know, you hit the home runs or you go out in your powerful club, let's say. The fans get behind that. But what gets overlooked, pitching. And it just seems like fans don't get behind that as much. You know what I mean?
No, exactly. Yeah, we talked about that briefly on Sunday. That pitching doesn't engender from a fan base the type of excitement. And you can see it with Jock Peterson of the Dodgers coming out.
That's what made me think of it.
Yeah, exactly.
3-2. And a leadoff walk. The Blues and Fox Sports Midwest teaming up for the Coleman St. Louis Race for the Cure. That's Saturday, June 13th. And you can sign up. Just head to stlouisblues.com.
You look at the history of the Cardinals. Dizzy Dean, back when the Gas House Gang, it was a Gas House Gang, but it was Dizzy Dean who was such a good pitcher. Bob Gibson, Steve Carlton, Nelson Briles, Kurt Simmons, Ray Sadecki in the 60s. And of course with Whitey Ball, it was Whitey Herzog who came up with the idea of 3 left-handers in the bullpen. Mix and match. And it was Whitey's ingenuity and innovativeness to bring in speed. Boy, could they run. Cardinals of the 80s.
Really, he did that.
But my point is, the Cardinals have never had, you know, guys who, you had Stan Musial winning 7 batting titles, but never, you know, mashers one after the other.
Whitey did that in Kansas City too. He developed a team with the ballpark the turf. I think like Willie Wilson and some of those speedsters they had.
Frank White.
Frank White, another one. 1-2 on John Jay. He did have one masher, Jack Clark, and he had a pretty famous home run in this ballpark.
Boy, did he ever. Dodgers, of course, when they played at Ebbets Field, they had the Masters. You know who I saw today and had about a 15-minute meeting with? Don Newcomb.
Really?
Yeah. First Cy Young Award winner in 1956. He was the MVP that year. And Nuke told me that he was 9-5 at the All-Star break and 18-2 in the second half of the season.
Wow.
18-2.
Wow.
The Nuke. What a gentle, gentle man.
And a strikeout of Jay.
He won the Cy Young Award and the MVP in the same year in 1956. And he was talking about Clayton Kershaw, and they kid each other about that. You know, about Clayton, of course, winning the Cy Young Award and the MVP last year.
I want to say that Justin Verlander, his claim to fame with Don Newcomb is they also were Rookie of the Years too.
Yes, right.
So
that's right.
MVPs,
MVP,
Cy Young, Rookie of the Year.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Verlander, the last to do it.
And Nuke never played in Los Angeles. His first year in the major leagues was 1948. And then he was in Cincinnati when the Dodgers moved west after the 1957 season.
Also pitched with Cleveland, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
Grichuk lines it to left field, and look at that. Over the head of Guerrero, and Molina on his way to third. Mike Matheny was talking about this the other day. He said, I cannot believe some of the balls that Grichuk hits and how hard he hits them because of exactly what happened. How left fielders and center fielders, but in particular left fielders, completely misjudge these.
It happened to Guerrero in St. Louis.
That's right.
A double for Grichuk. That was to drive a run in, and it's happened again. Alex Guerrero's got to think Grichuk's a Superman. And when he hits a ball like that, he looks like it.
I mean, he hits the ball hard.
He hits the ball hard.
Woof. Infield in for Colton Wong.
Yeah, I mean, it gives you an idea, not to overdo it, but it gives you an idea. I mean, when it fools major league outfielders, and we see it happen more than occasionally.
It happened with Juan Lagares, who won the Gold Glove last year with Grichuk.
Right, at Shea, when the Cardinals split that series in New York.
In the air, left center, that ball is down. 2 runs will score. Molina will score. Grichuk will score. Yachty had to tell him, don't lap me. He looked back at him and started pushing him back towards third, saying, don't lap me.
Yachty, I understand. That happened to me.
Did it really?
On July 11th, I beg your pardon, July 4th, the 200th anniversary of our country, I passed Gary Maddox at first base with the bases loaded. Yachty is saying, calm down, Randall. Let me score first. That was wonderful. But it's, I didn't, not only did I pass the runner, I didn't know the rule after I passed it.
Really?
I knew that I was out, but that was all. I was credited with 3 RBIs. It was a grand slam single.
That's hysterical.
It's not hysterical.
Not
it's
for
not
you.
that funny.
But I'm listening to you, and I think it is. I'm sorry.
I was interviewed by Bob Uecker the next day. It was Monday Night Baseball, and he said, "How could you do that?" And I said, "Well, I was giving my country their 200th anniversary gift."
Entertaining them, right?
Entertaining the Philly faithful in a great town, the city of brotherly love.
Sure.
The birthplace of our nation.
Bob Uecker, your former roommate, interviewing you on that play.
He did. In the bullpen.
Of all places.
Uecker said, "I feel home here."
That's great.
Oh, and how true.
Cardinals Wong has been on base 3 times tonight. Double that scores 2. Molina and Grichuk, and now it's Carpenter. Here's a 3-0 and a walk.
Gary Maddox was the runner that I passed, and he had come back to tag up. Larry Demery was the pitcher, and after everything happened, I was called out. The bases were cleared. I was credited with a grand slam single, and I went back to the dugout, and Maddox, who had a great sense of humor, sat down next to me, and he said, "You'll never forget me, will you?" And I said, "No, I won't."
Oh, can you laugh about it now? Or are you over it now?
Oh, I was over it the next day. Really, I mean, there's nothing to do but get over it.
Yeah. Rick Honeycutt trying to straighten out his lefty Colomb. 7-1 Cardinals. 2 runners on, 1 out here in the top of the 8th. And now he's got to face Matt Holliday.
Second day in a row, and about 3,000 miles apart, and the Cardinals have scored 7 runs.
Yes.
Yesterday against Milwaukee, and tonight against the Dodgers.
If the offense can pick it up, and I mean, there was about a 10 to 14 game stretch in which they were averaging under 3 runs a game.
Right.
But the pitching has been so good. And if the offense can give you another run, maybe 2, you're talking about this team rolling away with some wins.
As they've done thus far.
Holliday hits it down the right field line and out of play. Matt with an RBI, couple of hits, runs scored. Dodgers got in around 4 o'clock this morning after a very long series. 4 games.
Brutal games.
Yes. That's what Coors Field does to you, though.
Yeah.
It just beats you up.
It does.
Now, you talked about the altitude just for the players, and then you think about, from a pitching staff perspective, getting through 4 games, and one of those days was a doubleheader. You're beat up.
Well, the Cardinals have a similar situation with the Cubs on the 6th, 7th, and 8th of July. Makeup game, night game, day-night doubleheader, night game.
Holliday hits it to Adrian Gonzalez. But Tim, that's at Wrigley, and then you think about Coors Field. I don't care if the humidor is in play or not. It's still Coors Field.
Number 27, Johnny Peralta.
No, they're going to be high-scoring games.
Yes.
All of them. For both sides.
So here's Peralta. Big night for Johnny. 3 hits. RBI, run scored, and a walk. Runners at second and third. Peralta chops it towards third. Callaspo. Cardinals add to their lead with 2 more. They've got 12 hits tonight and a 7-1 lead as we move to the bottom of the 8th. Sports Midwest is brought to you by Bud Light, who reminds fans to stay in the game and drink responsibly. And by Ford, the official cars and trucks of the St. Louis Cardinals. The Dodgers are expected to spend over $240 million on player payroll this season alone.
Well, when you buy a franchise for $2.3 billion, $240 million is chump change now. Only kidding, but $240. By far the highest payroll in the game.
Announced earlier today that the Dodgers now available to certain customers to watch the games on TV. A lot of the games have not been available for fans.
Yeah.
So some of the carriers are picking that up. They signed a monster television deal. Yeah, it is unbelievable.
Close to $8 billion over 20 years for the fans in Southern California.
And a good portion of them couldn't see the games.
Yeah.
Yasmani Grandal, this side of the plate, he's only had 14 ABs. That's it. 0 for 3 tonight, hitting .286 from the right side. Chevy called to the pen, and the hard-throwing lefty Kevin Siegrist is in. This seems to be the pattern here, Tim, that with Jordan Walden out, we overlook his absence. He's your 8th inning guy, and he hasn't been around. That Siegrist now turns into your 8th inning bridge to get to Rosenthal, and a strikeout of Grandal.
I mean, you've got Siegrist from the left side, and we talked about it before about the way he's been able to handle right-handed batters this year. You also can put Seth Maness in there and not lose a lot, particularly in double play situations, of course.
Michael Walker tonight, 7 innings, 1 run, 7 hits, struck out 5, no walks.
I want this to be taken the right way, but sometimes an injury is good for a pitcher. It makes him a pitcher instead of a thrower. 2 years ago, Kevin Siegrist broke into the major leagues, dominated everybody. I mean everybody. No home runs to left-handed batters until the World Series. But last year on the shelf for the better part of the season, and he became the pitcher that he is right now. So in a weird way, it's not that you should go out and get pummeled and injure yourself, but you do, when you have to fight through things, you become better at your craft.
I think there's a lot of ways to take what you just said in a positive way. You know, just think about having the gift to play at this level, the gift of Major League Baseball for an athlete, and it's taken away. It's humbling.
It is. Kevin Siegrist found that out. Jaime Garcia found that out, and even told us as much.
He said he was humbled by it. Adam Wainwright, now 2 major injuries. Adam had a great story. I don't know if you were watching the other night.
I was watching every minute.
And coming back, it was a game against San Diego. He went the distance after having the Tommy John, and he said he finally knew he was back and what it meant to him. Grichuk, by the way, is in left field, took over for Holiday. And Gonzalez has his major league leading 21st double this season. But there's the Hyundai pitch arsenal for Siegrist, but it just shows you how when something's taken away from you, how much it means to a player. And also Michael Walker is another good example, how he would sit in the dugout and just talk situations, talk baseball, approach with other veteran pitchers when he was out last year. No fun, obviously, but you try to make the most of it if you can. And in this way, the physical aspect of it, you know, Siegrist has come back and the breaking ball has improved. Changeups obviously much better.
He's a different pitcher to right-handed batters.
Justin Turner at the plate, a 2-hit night. He's 2 for 3.
I mean, so much has been used with that term Tommy John surgery now. But I heard you and Rick talking about the loneliness of how with Adam Wainwright and everything, all the drills and the things that he has to do. A lot of it's nothing, and that's the worst thing for a pitcher or anybody. But think about Tommy John himself. Talk about missing the game and all the problems he had with adjusting to being out of the game. And he had the first surgery. Obviously, it was named after him. And he pitched like 8 more years after that. Unbelievable.
Ooh, on the inside corner and a strikeout of Turner.
Number 16.
Justin thought it was inside, but that ball clearly had part of the plate. Good pitch from Segrist. The point is rehab is lonely.
Yes. Andre Ethier. Segrist has struck out 2 so far. Ethier tonight has fly twice to center and singled off of Johnny Peralta's glove. Two and one. Kevin now is up to 26 appearances this year. Maine is with 27 to lead the club. Evens it up at 2 and 2. I don't know about you, Tim, but I look at tonight and tomorrow being such key games in this series when you have Kershaw and Greinke back to back. I mean, you don't want to overstate the obvious, but it is important to win these first 2 if you can.
Well, we can talk about it, and of course as fans and broadcasters, but players can't think that way. Players have to work right now. It's right now and win tonight. But we can certainly stress it. That's part of our jobs. As everybody realizes that.
Kevin Segrist, a scoreless bottom of the 8th, and sends us to the 9th. Here from Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles. All St. Louis tonight. It's 7-1. Lewis here in the top of the ninth. Galome now at 30 pitches. Kevin Segras between innings. See him talking there with Molina. A breaking ball in for a strike to Mark Reynolds. I mean, this is a sincere question. How many times did you as a catcher, and I'm not talking about Bob Gibson, I already know the answer there, but others that you could really get to and talk to on game days and say, hey, I notice you're flying open or you're doing this, that, and the other. Did you ever do that?
I never told a pitcher what I would tell him the result of a pitch. All catchers are experts on results of pitches, but what he's doing, unless a pitching coach were, the one thing Steve Carlton did when he was with the Phillies, he dropped his hand. He would deliver the ball, and when he dropped his hand, it's understandable that his ball would flatten out.
Sure.
He didn't throw it as hard. He pushed it and he didn't throw it. So the only thing I told him was to stay inside of the ball, and that, I wouldn't have told him that had our pitching coach Ray Ripplemeyer told me to do that. Ray, by the way, lives right across the river in Illinois, and about 60 miles from, was a hog farmer, and I think his son's taken over. Brad has taken over, but I loved Ray Ripplemeyer. He was a terrific pitching coach, and he didn't try to cement things with pitchers about do this and do that. Just one thing to remember. Pitchers are the worst people in the world during a game to talk about mechanics. Don't ever mention mechanics. I'm opening up. I'm throwing that. Believe me, they would go bananas and ballistic. Don't say anything about mechanics. Don't. And I never talked about the mechanics with any pitcher.
Even if you saw a guy flying open.
Flying open's not my job. The result of the pitch is, this is what the pitch is doing. Don't come to me and ask me to unless a guy blatantly tells you, or a pitching coach blatantly tells you one thing or another. But I never handle any mechanics, and it drove me crazy when I saw catchers given that you're dropping down, you're doing this, and having meetings on the mound. It drove me nuts. Really. I'm not kidding you. I never talked about mechanics to a pitcher.
What am I doing wrong right now? Sorry.
I mean, you can talk between games, after a game, before a game. You know.
Sure. But not in the game.
Worst thing in the world that can happen.
It's the shortstop making that play with Hayward. 2 down. Got a long way to go. That's Kiki Hernandez. There he is. Little shift on here for Hayward.
You've got to understand also, Dan, the pitching position is built around paranoia. It is. I mean, the action doesn't begin until you throw the pitch. So, I mean, there's a lot behind that. Postseason play, all the crescendo and everything. A hitter is one of the team. A pitcher, nothing happens until he initiates the action. So when you consider the psychological part of it, it's just better not to talk about mechanics and not to bring something that to them is, oh my gosh, if I start thinking about
another thing to think about, or another area to think about. I mean, I'm doing the best. Pitchers think I'm doing the best I can, just trying to throw a strike. Sure.
And that
part, I understand where you're coming from for sure.
Yeah.
So much. I mean, they've been waiting every 5th day. You're sitting around just thinking about the next start, thinking about the guy that you're going to face.
Right.
That makes sense.
I mean, yeah. But the other stuff doesn't.
Yeah, some of it. No, I like it. I do. Here's a 1-1 pitch to Tony Cruz. He's the pinch hitter. That's fouled back.
I mean, there's so many. I'm not talking about Yachty, or I'm not talking about any catcher, but there are some catchers that try to make other people believe that they have brought this pitcher through this whirlwind of activity, and they you know, I wouldn't say they wanted the credit, but they'll take the credit if someone gives it to them.
When it comes, right.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that they deserve the credit when they receive it.
1-2 pitch on the outside corner. Strikeout of Tony Cruz, and that sends us to the bottom of the ninth.
Thank goodness.
So what about being well? The Cardinals, it may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the St. Louis Cardinals. Tell you what, Villanueva saved the Cardinals bacon a few times early this season. He has been really good. Look at that, .43 ERA in 21 innings of work for Carlos Villanueva.
We talked earlier saying statistics have no heart, and it's the heart of Villanueva, in my opinion, that's taken the Cardinals out of a lot of log jams over a 3-week period.
Yes,
working extra innings, being a second starter really in a game.
I think you can look at what he did and the residual effect of settling down the starting rotation.
Yeah, good point.
You know,
very good point.
It had a calming influence on just about everywhere you looked on the team. Obviously the bullpen, but the starters too, to an extent. He knows how to pitch. He doesn't have overpowering stuff. He's smart. Alex Guerrero at the plate as we begin playing here at the bottom of the ninth. Tony Cruz stays in the game at catcher. If the Cardinals hold on, they go to 14-11 on the road. It's sharply to third. Long throw. Carpenter makes the play.
Good play by Matt Carpenter. The one thing Carpenter does in plays like that, he gets rid of the ball quickly. And the reason for that, his arm's not really a third baseman's arm. He has a second baseman's arm. As a matter of fact, Colton Wong has a better arm than Matt Carpenter. How many times do you see that where a second baseman on a team, a regular second baseman, has a stronger arm than a third baseman? Not often.
And a strike to Chris Heisey. He's your pinch hitter. Tim, there are only 3 teams in the National League that have records above 500 on the road. 2 of them from the National League West. The Giants and Colorado of all teams. They're 14-13. But yet 5 games below 500 at home. And then the Cardinals 22-7 at home and a chance to go to 14-11 on the road and win number 36. Should be the most in baseball. Minus Adam Wainwright, minus Jordan Walden. Think about the specialization of the game and the importance of now an 8th inning guy. And the Cardinals lose him for a considerable amount of time. They've lost their ace, arguably one of the best in all of baseball, in Adam Wainwright. And here they are, a chance to go to 36-18. Popped up. Playable near the Cardinals dugout. There's Mark Reynolds, 2 down. Let's turn to our Budweiser player of the game. That's Michael Wacha. Cardinals are 1 out away from making him an 8-game winner. He'll go to 8-1 this year.
And the Cardinals have won 10 of 11 when he started.
There's Kiki Hernandez. The first pitch, a strike. Garrett Cole with 8 wins. Bartolo Colon with 8. And at 2 strikes, or the next out, Michael Wacha with 8 to lead the National League.
Good curveball from Villanueva.
65 miles an hour. And here comes an 0-2 pitch. Up the middle and a base hit.
Some pitches you pitch and duck. Pitcher releases the ball. He's about 53 feet from the hitter. Ball gets back on top of you in a hurry.
In a hurry. You think about some of these power guys that are out there too, especially in an era that we just got through.
I was going to say that during the PED eras, downright dangerous.
Bonds, McGuire, scary,
frightening.
Here's an 0-1 pitch to Callaspo. We'll see Brett Anderson tomorrow, the left-hander for the Dodgers, who is 2-3. Carlos Martinez 5-2. Now time called. 2 balls, 1 strike. 2 outs and a runner at first. Reynolds playing behind that runner with a 7-1 lead. Cardinals about hit the Dodgers 12-9. And a ground ball. There is Colton Wong. Another good play to his left. And the Cardinals have win number 36. And the first win to begin this road trip. The final, St. Louis 7, Los Angeles 1.
Dan, it's the perfect sound of game 1 on a road trip. Nothing in a visiting ballpark.
Quiet right now.
Quiet.
But a ballpark that can get as loud as any in the game. Colton Wong and the Cardinals win this one by the final of 7-1. Colton, a big night at the top of the lineup. A couple of RBIs. He was on base 3 times in frustration for the Dodgers. Drove in a run. Still slammed his helmet. 7-1 the final. Rick and Pat standing by with a postgame show.